Sorry I've been absent. Work beckons. But if you're new to the show and you like the content that I'm producing, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe the content. And if you could also take a moment to hit the notification button. It seems like they're playing with my notifications, and some people are getting them, some people aren't. So if you'll check in, I usually crank something out, anywhere from Tuesday throughout the rest of the week. Sometimes Mondays also. I try to put something out every day, but sometimes I'm not able to. But I do the best I can. So today we're gonna take a look at some of the misogyny that's embedded in our psychology professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists that happen to be black females. And some of them are males, that have taken up this position that is not very favorable to black males. Even though all the data is pointing in the same direction that black males need help. Excuse me. The majority of the help that's being distributed and funding that's being distributed is being pointed in one direction. And these people seem to feel like that money is better spent dealing with the LGBTQ community, dealing with black females, anyone other than black males, even though the data shows that the need is overwhelmingly needed in black males, black boys. Okay, we're seeing black boys fall off in mathematics, and K through 12. 8-year-olds are starting to see deficits, and females are outpacing males due to the focus, and sometimes due to bias against black males that has been shown in research. And still, there's no empathy for black males. We show time and time again how the system has been created, to basically ensure that black men do not get ahead, are not seen as leaders, are not able to be leaders in their communities, aren't able to make significant resources to take care of a family. Not to mention to deal with the emotional baggage that one starts to accumulate over the course of their lives when dealing with constant interference and obstruction in one's success, whether it be academic, whatever the case may be. But we're going to touch on some of that today, and we're going to show some exchanges on Twitter with one of the guys here. Let me pull that up. Okay. This is Dr. Hood Scholar's thread. Tweets here. He says, "I'm so glad we witnessed Taylor call black men Nick sales because it's opening my eyes. Now I see mental health focuses on everyone but black men." Okay. So then you see Dr. LaShawn Paul, and she says, "Social work education needs to do a better job at teaching how to work with LGBTQIA plus clients. There isn't enough characters for me to share the horror stories. In the meantime, educate yourself because clients should never have to heal from you." Okay. All right. So there she seems to think that they are the biggest, have the biggest need for help in 2022. Even though all this data out here is saying that black males need assistance, need help. far greater need than anyone else across the board, even females. Yet, even black females, even black professional psychologists are not interested in helping these black males. How many times do we hear that, black sisters are really just out here protesting for you, standing up for you guys and sticking out for you guys, and you guys never have our backs? And we have professionals here who are basically doing something counter to our productivity, something that's counter to the benefit of our community. Trying to get kudos for helping, the new in group. So these individuals are clearly ignoring the data and picking the group that they feel like they want to stick up for and advocate for. And it's not us. And we as black men have said time and time again, why is it that black women, professional black women, tend to, not only professional black women, just about in every sector, tend to support the LGBTQ community, whether they be black or not, greater than us? I'm just trying to see, how they can basically show that this is something that needs to be addressed greater than the need of black boys and black men. I mean, let's move on with this. But I'm disgusted by it. So let's go on. Dr. Hood Scholar says, and here lies the problem. If there's nothing to bring healing to black men, how in the world are we going to stop the cycle of abuse? Here he's talking about the abuse that has clearly been documented that black men and black boys incur from the system, from racism, which now everybody experiences racism greater than the black man. I was just on a TikTok live where the women in there were saying that basically they experience racism greater than black men. Yet they're the beneficiaries of all of these programs that are basically making it to where they're out earning and seeing black men as a detriment and not as a benefit to them. That's all you hear. Well, let's move on. Even with the original tweet for our black men who are gay, bi, SGL, or trans, they aren't getting the necessary attention either. Excuse me. So we can be Nick sales trash and blamed for the pain of others by black mental health professionals, but not adequately provided with the tools, skills, and resources needed to heal. Shaking my head. And he's right about this. And these people have questionable ethics, by, making some of the comments that they make about black men. We saw a young lady who basically was calling herself an advocate for black men, and advocating for us to seek out, black women to begin our healing in the psychiatric community, and psychological community, all while basically demeaning black men and making unfounded comments about us, to the point to where she was fired from her job due to unethical behavior. And her descriptions of some of her patients and her interactions with black men were clearly just uncalled for. And her job probably felt the same way. I feel like she should, be, reported further. And I'm going to, put that in the comments, or in the description, a website dealing with the ethics that they have to adhere to by the American Psychological Association, the APA. So that you guys can go through that, to show that this is what these people are supposed to be going by, and when they talk about whatever they talk about, it's supposed to be based on data, peer-reviewed data, and not feelings or made up, things that they feel that they agree with. Okay. All right. So he goes on and he says, here are screenshots by Black mental health professionals and their views about Black men. Okay. So here's one, and she's replying to @LizzieRants and you see the ads there. Okay. Don't waste your time trying to convince Black men to be your ally. If they understand white supremacy, they understand the patriarchy. They don't want to be a part of dismantling the patriarchy because they benefit from that structure. Protect your energy, sis. Okay. Now that's unfounded. And it's ignorant, because I find it hard to believe that someone who went to a college, who's supposed to be a learned person, says that Black men benefit from the patriarchy. Black men throughout history have been subjected to indescribable indecencies by the patriarchy, the white patriarchy. They never saw us as men. We never had agency over our bodies in any way. Just like Black women, right alongside Black women. And still to this day, we're still being put in jail, still being kept from adequate education, adequate housing, all kinds of things that have been documented. Can't get loans. You have to go through, sheer hell the majority of your life until you finally find a way to negotiate that system. And then you're fighting with women to prove that you are an adequate mate to be with them. All while we're hearing nowadays, that they don't need a man, they don't want a man, and that all Black men ain't shit. So it doesn't make any sense. But any basic level of American history would destroy her claims about Black men benefiting from the patriarchy. Okay, we still don't benefit from the patriarchy. And I would dare her to provide some proof of our benefit from the patriarchy. Okay, so on the next one, he says, he has a screenshot here, and it says, time Black men see Black women represented. Let me just hit that. Anytime Black men see women represented, they ask, what about us? As if they aren't represented. We rally behind them while they attempt to center themselves always. You see, selfishness. And this goes back to, Ice Cube when he was on the Cocktails with Queens, when they say, if you don't specify Black women are not a part of Black people. Okay. So when Black men try to put themselves in a leadership position in order to take care of the Black family, the Black community, Black women are saying, no, we want that position. We want that power. We want the money. We want the focus. And then you say, why are Black men not doing this and doing that? Because you, with this statement, are showing that you are circumventing the man's place in a relationship, in his community. Anything that he tries to do positive, you are positioning yourself as someone who is an adversary and not an ally. You say that you rally behind us. No, you don't, because you can't rally behind us and then say, don't give them any money. Don't give them the educational benefits. Don't give them the things that they need in order for them to be a viable mate in the dating process. What's the first thing that we hear? That man has to meet me or beat me. Okay. But then you are allying yourselves with people who are against black men for money and for power, just like any other person who places themselves in a position that is counter to the other person's position. You are someone he has to fight against in order for him to take his rightful place as head of household, as leader. And he shouldn't have to fight against his woman. This is basic. Okay. So here you have another person that says, as a queer black male, some aren't ready for the conversation of hetero privilege. Straight black men are the white people of black people. That is bullshit. Okay. Now here we have queer black men who are positioning themselves as enemies of other black men, positioning themselves as feminist almost, trying to counter the progress of black men. So we're having to fight against these false claims, the ignorance of the data and factual position of black men in society. These people don't want to hear that. There are books out here. There are government think tanks that are doing studies that are producing this information, this peer-reviewed information that people do not want to accept. So let's move on down. Now, I'm going to go back to that for a minute, because as a queer black male, he makes this comment. So, if a black person, a black male said this about the queer community, then he would be homophobic, but they can say any kind of terroristic, position that they want to against black men. And that's just what we're just supposed to take it. Okay. So, let's go on to the next one here. It says, it's only two types of men in life. Choose wisely, sis. 1, what are you doing? 2, took out that trash and filled up your tank. Okay. So you're no good to a woman unless you serve her. Okay. Take out her trash and fill up her tank and make sure she does nothing. All while she basically is looking at you, waiting on you to do something that she doesn't like. Okay. So those are our choices. And they say that we should stay here for this and not get our passports and look for women elsewhere. And they don't understand why that some men are taking that as an option. Okay. So here's the next one. We, in parentheses, black women, are under cultural mandates to heal in ways that black men aren't. Oh, really? This keeps showing up in my therapy practice. I'm asking questions about what it means to exist in cis heteronormative relationships with black men who resist healing work. Okay. This is crazy. Here you have a person who is a professional person who is using this cis word, which is this is not based in any kind of scientific designation or anything. It just came out of the air from some gay person. And now it's in. And it just became a normal thing. When COVID took over? And once we came out of COVID, then everybody started going crazy. And now we cisgendered instead of heterosexual. Everything is non-binary and all of this. Seems like people just are losing their minds. And what the hell is heteronormative? So that under that description, they're saying that basically we're forcing people to be heterosexual. Heterosexual is deemed as normal, and that's not right. You know, it's somehow damaging to these people. Okay. Now, Brittany Cooper down here says, one day we'll have a conversation about how black folks romanticize that tortured artist shit when it comes to brothers, but how sisters couldn't dare build whole careers as creative off bleeding in public. We are always under a cultural mandate to heal in ways men never are. See that I mean, how? Show me, you know? Drop down these ways how women are black women are forced to heal in ways that black men are. Well, black men are always forced to be take a stoic position in order to appear to be a viable leader in any situation. And if we show any chink in our armor, then black women are quick to say that we're weak, we're soft, we're effeminate. Hell, the main thing that they say about us when we get out of line is that we're gay. So that we'll snap back and show some gumption, you know? So move on down here. It says, hearing black men say to black women, not all black men, is equivalent to people saying that black men, not all, saying to black men, not all cops are bad. Really? This narrow viewpoint is from an individual stance and not one that examines the systemic structures that allow for the violence in the first place. Okay, so we've gone over this stuff before. Black women are tend to initiate violence more so than black men do, and usually the violence is bidirectional. Okay, so both people are violent. Black men are no more violent than black women. Okay, we've seen just in this week alone, we saw a woman murder her husband on a damn Facebook Live in front of his parents and his kids, just to prove a point. Okay, that's just one incident that's happened. But this has been going on. We had another a young lady who basically murdered her ex-husband. Got another man to murder her ex-husband in Memphis. So these types of things are happening, but all we hear is about how black men are just out here just committing these violent acts against these women, and I can't help but notice that there are a lot of women out here, as soon as you bring up something, then they'll say, I know a woman who. It didn't happen to them, but they gladly carry the baggage of the story and live vicariously through this story, and always try to take us to the worst case scenario so that we'll empathize with that scenario and somehow try to correct that problem, And, these women, they just emotionally latch on to these stories. I mean, it's like when they even see things on these shows. I remember when The Burning Bed came out, and so many women latched on to this thing and were so enthusiastic about this woman killing this guy, and no one would help this woman, and all of these things, that just kept, that were just talked about, in such a fervor. And then after that, there was movie after movie, show after show that carried the same trope, even up to this day. It's either murder vision, assault vision, the words that we can't say, vision, but they always show these things, and it's constant. As if these things, and these people are latching onto this. It's like this is happening constantly. People will even go out and seek out these stories in order to bolster their claims that basically these black women are being oppressed at this, this huge level. They've even gone out and said it about the trans community. I've gone and I've shown how many actual people are being assaulted, how many trans people are being assaulted a year. And it's not as many as black men. It's not as many as black women. It's not as many as anybody. It's at the bottom. You barely get 100 folks. And they act like it's thousands of people. And I dare you to go and look it up. They actually have a website where they keep the stats on. Trans women who were basically, killed, in each year. All you got to do is Google it. Trans women that have been killed in 2022, 2020, 2019. Go ahead and go back and look just how far they've been tracking it and how many women were killed. I mean, how many of these trans folks were killed each time. Now, it doesn't tell you what they were doing, but it will tell you that they were killed. Okay. There was a story that just came on where a trans individual, and this was on in North Little Rock, and I think this was on a Fatal Attraction show on One Network, where the trans person basically was going to force this guy to come out, and show that their relationship, bring their relationship out into the public, and he killed the girl. I mean, killed the person. So, these people seem to always tend to end up trying to force some person to do something they don't want to do. But then they're so, they have such a problem with society trying to force them to do something, or other people failing to call them whatever they want to be called. So it doesn't make any sense, does it? And we see some of the same things in some of these black females. It's like they are hardwired to think that all black men are somehow their enemy. Now, you have a person who's, I studied a little bit of psychology, and I'm telling you, it's all about facts, data, and statistics. And it's not, all we hear is these feelings and these, we've got to do something about the gays. We've got to help them, not black people. People are no longer getting into, these higher, fields in order to help black people. They're in it to help gay people and help women and every other, cause or group that has nothing to do with us. That's not benefiting the black community in any way, shape, or form. Now, they are up there and they'll say, hey, we've got 50 black women who are now psychologists, and they ain't doing nothing for the black community or for black people in general. They're not out here seeing black men and black women, and if they get some trans people, okay, so be it. They're out here actively saying, I help women and I help trans folks. So by you saying that, and you saying that you specifically are out for those people, are you not discriminating against black men that might need help, or white men that might need help, or men, period, that might need help? You're saying that you only see these people. You might find yourself in front of the Supreme Court, because you're clearly discriminating against a certain sector of people based on their sex. Okay? Just throwing that out there. So let's move on here. All right, I'd say hearing black men say, okay, all right, not all cops are bad. This narrow viewpoint is from an individual stance and not one that examines the systemic structures that allow for violence in the first place. Okay, as if black men are not subject to violence on a day-to-day basis. More black men get killed than black women. So wouldn't you want to try to stem that violence a little bit? Also, while you're trying to stem the violence against black women, don't you want to just stem violence, period? Okay. All right. So here's another one. I had the most interesting yet exhausting conversations with black men today about grape culture, sexuality, sexual exploration, and freedom toxic masculinity, pleasing women, healing, and patriarchy. And in conclusion, Black men are not okay. But I hope they learned something from me. Okay? So here you have all of the catchphrases, all of the new terms, that basically toxic masculinity. So what used to be masculine is no longer masculine. It's toxic. It's just too much for people. They're overdosing on the masculinity. It's just too much for them to handle. And somehow now men don't know how to please women. The only way basically for you to please a woman is to do what she says in this group. Okay. So don't want to adhere to any rules, want to defy the rules of nature. What form would healing be in and in this process that she's talking about? And what one-sided description of the patriarchy are we going to be learning about that will be to her liking? Okay. Black men don't know anything about freedom or sexual exploration, or sexuality, and this term about grape culture, we've shown time and time again that might not even be a thing. We've seen a lot of these situations, when investigated, some of them turn out to be false, but they never want to deal with those. They only want to deal with the real ones. Okay. Never want to deal with the false allegations. Okay. Right now they're homing in on Jonathan Majors, and I want you to notice that there are not very many masculine roles that Black men are in nowadays. We just had the description about, where we were all having a conversation about them having Jonathan Majors up there in essentially a damn clown suit, with some fruity ass pants and boots and a cape on. We can't be up there like on Esquire and some of the other magazines where these guys are dressed like 007. Sitting in masculine, areas, looking like they're learned individuals, in masculine, roles. We don't see our men in those types of roles. We're seeing our men watered down. It's almost like a black exploitation again. We're looking pimpish. There's even an article that just came out saying that men look more masculine when they wear makeup, but there's no agenda, y'all. There's no agenda. So I feel like that Black men should be able to determine what masculinity is and be that. And if you don't care for that, then you move on and go and date the soft men that you prefer, But basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to socially engineer soft men. And now we see that there's a sector of the psychological community who are interested in socially engineering soft men as well. Malleable men, easy to control. So let's move on to the next one. Black men have male privilege. I've yet to see what male privilege is. The fact that some Black men don't even have to consider the effects of their maleness on the rest of their community members is an example of said privilege. Let's talk indeed. What the hell is male privilege? And how is me just being affecting you in a way that makes life just unlivable for you? You see how dumb these statements are? They don't make any sense at all. Okay? Let's go on down a little bit further here. It says, all right, might randomly see me on somebody's IG live explains how being gay isn't negative. Black men hold on to toxic ideas to defend what they deem masculine. Women shouldn't deal with men who aren't making their pleasure a priority. That includes some taboo things like, and here's tossing salads, you know? So now they're advocating for, eating rectum. So that's what it takes for you to please your woman. Now, I guess these are supposed to be educated people. Maybe I need to do a show on all of the diseases that you can catch associated with playing with stool. But I'm not going to stick on that. But if you'd like to know that, let me know in the comments and I will gladly do one for you. All right. All right. So couldn't screenshot the whole thread. So here it is. And while those things are true, some black men decided that they wanted to type that type of power and control too. Again, a power thing. Okay, so fear of black men having power. Okay, I won't go down through that thread, but hey, I will link this in the description as well so that you can see Dr. Hood Scholar's thread on this. It is very interesting. Okay, he says, let me add the screenshot just in case she tries to delete it. Long story short, she took a completely one-sided approach in a conversation between black men and black women. I responded. She ignored me until she, quote, tweeted me telling me to stop it. These therapists are dangerous. And I agree. Any therapist that's just not interested in you healing and your mental well-being is not somebody that you should frequent. And I'm going to say, if you see any of this, this agenda, in your therapist, I wouldn't go to them, especially as a black male, because it looks like a lot of them don't have your best interest in heart. So, okay, black tired of being tired butterfly. She says, I didn't see that anywhere. As I said, you are reading to confirm your bias, and your bias is that black women hate black men and don't believe y'all are capable of growth. This isn't true at all. And the women here haven't said anything the like. Have a good night. Okay, Dr. Hood Scholar says, I don't have that bias, but the conversation does make something very clear. Understanding each other is one-sided. I don't have that bias, but because you say I do, it must be true. This is why so many relationships don't work. I understand where you are coming from. Black woman becoming. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of back and forth here. Here's another one that I'm going to share. And I think I'm going to end it there because it's going on here. But here's the one that I was most interested in. Okay. Man, you cannot make this up. A bunch of laughter. They just be giving license and certifications to anybody. Okay. Here it is. So here's this young lady. Therapyforblackmen.org. But she says down here, okay, Legacy Wellness Services, Nicole Lewis, clinical social worker, licensed clinical social worker, and I don't know what the other one is. Okay. All right. So let's look at the other one. Okay, Therapy for Black Men, Nicole Lewis. As a Black therapist, I specialize in understanding the needs of African American adults and can relate to their experiences. My personal mission is to assist. Okay, I have a community, and here's where she has another one where she says, I have a community for Black women and Black non-binary persons and so many Black men. YT women and bots trying to get in. What is the reason? Okay. She says, protect black women also means protect us from black men. Not very consistent there. So she has a lot of things up there, that are kind of leading you to believe that she has certain thoughts about, black men. So, she also is one of the ones who's focusing on the LGBT community more so than, just people, especially black people. Okay. Here's another one that says most black men are gone far beyond therapy. They need a reset on their existence. That lady said nothing wrong. Most people don't get that they are proving her point with their damn entitlement. So now black men are entitled. Okay, and some of the other tweets they pull down because they're ashamed of them. They don't want you to read them. Okay, that's about it on that. But I'm going to go on and I'm going to, like I said, I showed the ethics here. I'm going to share a paper here that talks about the Superwoman schema, African American women's views on stress, strength, and health. Okay, so this is a paper in the National Library of Medicine. Okay, it's written by a female PhD, RN. Okay, and Cheryl L. Woods, Giscombe, I guess. I mean, I can't make that out, but if you know how to say it, great. All right. So the abstract of this paper says researchers have suggested that health disparities in African American women, including adverse birth outcomes, lupus, obesity, and untreated depression, can be explained by stress and coping. The strong black woman / superwoman role has been highlighted as a phenomenon influencing African American women's experiences and reports of stress. The purpose of this study was to develop a preliminary conceptual framework for the superwoman schema. Okay? It says by exploring women's descriptions of the superwoman role, perceptions of contextual factors, benefits, and liabilities, and beliefs in how it influences health, analysis of 8 focus groups discussions with demographically diverse African American women yielded themes categorizing the superwoman role and personal or socio-historical contextual factors. Participants reported that the superwoman role had benefits, preservation of self and family or community, and liabilities, relationship strain, stress-related health behaviors, and stress embodiment. The Superwoman schema framework might be used to enhance future research on stress and African American women's health. Okay? So, where we all know about the Superwoman schema in the Black community. I mean, its ugly head rears up quite frequently. This is why Black women are so stressed out. They have this perceived need to be stronger than anyone, to know more than any man, to be able to lead or to be able to fact check his every move, his every leadership assertion must be seconded by her, because she has to have a say. I don't know where this came from, but she has to have a say in what's going on. Now, see, they think that this is something that men do too. You can take a man who basically says, okay, he is put in that leadership role, and other men will follow him because they trust that this man in a leadership role is going to do what is necessary for whatever the task is at hand. We don't constantly go out and try to check and challenge, our leaders. When one leader, falls, another one will take his place. But it's not as crazy a situation as when women are involved. Women are always trying to outdo each other or outdo the people that are in charge of them. Okay. Their ambition is different. Let me just say that. Okay. So I'm going to go down a little bit here. Okay. They talk about, okay. All right. Let's go down here a little bit more. Okay, they talk about how writers grounded in Black feminist theory have provided groundbreaking critical examinations of the development of this role among contemporary African American women. In the seminal work of The Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman, originally published in 1978 and revised in 1990, Wallace attracted a great deal of attention to this topic, illuminated the potential detrimental effects of this image. In other significant works, including Black feminist thought, Sisters of the Yam, Hooks, 1993, and Gillespie discussion, The Myth of the Strong Black Woman. So, they talk about this myth, but they're doing a study. Okay. So everybody has tried to basically fight and say that, no, there is no strong Black woman. That's a myth, and they've been saying this for the longest, but clearly it does exist. Okay. Okay, the concept of the superwoman developed partially as a result of African American women's efforts to counteract negative societal characteristics of African American womanhood, such as Mammy, Jezebel, and the welfare queen, and to highlight unsung attributes and develop and continue to exist despite oppression and adversity. Okay, the concept of socio-political context of African American women's lives, specifically the climate of racism, race and gender based oppression, disenfranchisement, and limited resources during the after legalized slavery in the United States, forced African American women to take on the roles of mother, nurturer, and breadwinner out of the economic and social necessity. In other words, being a superwoman has been a necessity for survival. Okay. This was related particularly to the compromised and disenfranchised position of African American men that limited their ability to provide the financial and emotional support to their partners and families. Okay. But they say, oh, these Black men are lazy. They don't want to do anything. That we had to do this because the men were not capable of doing it. Why were the men not capable of doing it? Because society had put things in place, machinery in place to prevent Black men from being a threat to them and to make the women look at us in a detrimental way as baggage. So women took on that role initially, in a loving way, and eventually they started to look at us as dead weight, and this can be shown in the stories, the literature that came out, and that the shift in the way Black men were being talked about post 1970s feminism. Okay, it totally changed. It degraded the position of the Black man in the Black community with these women. Okay, so let's go down. And it says it is responsible to examine how the role of the superwoman might be a double-edged sword for the health of this group, an asset and a vulnerability. African American women have been acclaimed for their strength in the face of societal and personal challenges. This has been viewed as a positive character trait or asset that has contributed to survival among the African American population. It stands to reason that without the survival mechanism, African Americans might not have endured tremendous historical hardships. Nevertheless, Romero has stated that an overused asset that develops uncritically without ongoing evaluation and attention to changing needs and demands runs the risk of becoming a liability. Okay? See? Laying it out there plain. All right. Perhaps there is a price to the Superwoman role. The legacy of the strength in the face of stress among African American women might have something to do with the current health disparities that African American women face. Despite the growing discourse on the Superwoman role, there is a surprising dearth of publication, empirical, or data-based research designed to examine conceptualize the phenomenon and how it might contribute to the current health status of African American women. With rare exceptions, most of the discourse on this topic comes from a particular clinical lecture. Okay, Black 2008, Morrison 2006, Romero 2000, Tompkins 2005, and Wallace 1990. Other researchers, okay, and they're listed there, have not focused on the concept of strength, but obtained insight on the topic in the process of investigating other psychological or health-related phenomena. Although the growing body of literature has resulted in increased awareness of the Superwoman role and the potential impact on stress-related health outcomes and the general well-being of African American women, more work could be done to explore the characteristics of this phenomenon, identify the contributing contextual factors, and examine the potential benefits and liabilities to the health and general well-being of African American women. A formal descriptive framework or operationalization of the Superwoman role could enhance understanding of this phenomenon and guide future empirical research to identify the mechanism or pathways between stress and health in this population. Okay. All right. So they go on to talk about the study and the methods and the sample setting. Okay. And the procedures. If you want to read this, I'll put this in the description. And here's a diagram that basically shows what a description of the parts of beings of what they found with the Superwoman schema, the framework. Okay, the Superwoman role. What are the characteristics? Okay, the obligation to manifest strength, the obligation to suppress emotions, the resistance to being vulnerable or dependent, determination to succeed despite limited resources, obligation to help others. Okay, those are male characteristics, all of them. So these women over time have basically been masculinized, and they don't even know it. They see these traits as benefits, which has caused them to be adversarial to other men. Okay, this is why women come to you and say, "I've got a job. I take care of my own bills. I don't really need anybody," and they think that those are things that a man are going to see as beneficial traits in a woman or a potential mate. None of these things are beneficial to a man looking for a woman, unless they're gay. Then they're looking for another man. But these are clearly male traits. Okay, we're going to go on down to the other one. Now we'll stick with the top. Okay, this obligation to manifest strength. So every time a man takes leadership or takes a leadership role and tries to come to a woman in a leadership role, then she manifests strength. She doesn't manifest, submission to that man's strength. She manifests strength and counters his strength. She suppresses her softer emotions. She doesn't like being vulnerable. So everything that's feminine about her, she basically destroys in order to become stronger. Okay? Let's move on down to the other one. What are the contributing contextual factors? Historical legacy of racial or gender stereotyping / oppression. Okay. So I kind of take issue with this. They say this historical legacy of racial or gender stereotyping. So us stereotyping them. See, this is the part that where they tried to basically shame people into saying that, no, there is no superwoman complex. They were saying this up to the 90s, and this was, now studies are beginning to shift, but people were actually afraid of basically characterizing women, black women, in this strong superwoman schema. Okay. So this lessons from foremothers. Yeah, that's mothers telling their daughters, you got to be strong. You don't need no man. You got to have your own money. Don't let no man, get over on you. And the forever cheating, descriptions, and these women seeing their mothers and their grandmothers in a slavery role when they were in marriages. That's why these women, after each generation, don't want to be married, because they see these women serving their husbands and, living with their husbands and him being the leader in the family, and they resent it. Now, I think another study needs to be done into that, but I've yet to see studies into that. But I've heard this time and time again, where these women resent their mothers and grandmothers for the position that they had, cooking meals and cleaning and doing those things. I hear women say this all the time. I'm not doing that. I am not going to be anybody's slave. I'm not going to do that. So then what is your position? I mean, what do you think being in a marriage is going to be about? You're not going to clean your house. If you're not married, you got to clean your house. If a man does meet all your requirements, makes over $100,000 a year, gives you a big house, buys your car, all these things, you're not going to keep it clean. You're not going to cook. You would think that, that person is going to take care of the person who is laying down their life, all of their time, sacrificing everything to make that person's life better. But they don't see it in that way. They see it as oppression. I want you to listen. And you listen to other women, talk about their experiences with men. They talk about oppression. Anytime a man tries to basically lay down rules and to have standards, it's oppression. Okay? All right. So the next one is past history of disappointment, mistreatment, or abuse, and then spiritual values. Okay? Some of these women have no history of abuse, but they do have disappointments. If a man doesn't do what they want them to do, that's a disappointment. And they consider that to be mistreatment. Okay. Now, some factors, some women do have abuse, and very rarely do these people take agency in the decisions that put them into the position to have to deal with these disappointments, this mistreatment, or this abuse. Okay. These spiritual values. All right. Well, I don't know how spiritual values, I've never experienced any spiritual values in the black community that would call for a black woman to be a superwoman. So I don't know where they're getting that from. Okay. Now, the next one is, what are perceived benefits? What are the perceived benefits? Preservation of self and survival. I want you to key in on that. Preservation of self/survival. It doesn't say preservation of the family. Doesn't say preservation of anything other than self. It promotes selfishness. Okay? That's not a benefit. Every man for themselves is not a benefit. And, when the ship is going down, the men stay on the boat and they put the women and children in the life rafts. Okay. That's not preservation of self. So that's, they see that as a masculine trait to basically survive at all costs. That's a selfish pursuit. I've never, I don't think I've met a man that's looked at things in a selfish way like that. Okay. All right. So preservation of African American community and the preservation of African American family. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. That used to be the case. They used to care about the preservation of the African American community, but they are not concerned with the African American community. They're concerned with themselves. It goes back to self-preservation. Because what did they say on Cocktails of Queens? What about our money? Where's the money for black women? Aren't y'all black people? No, we black women. Where's my money? That's what they said. The Vivica Foxes and all of those, the supposed tens who have struck the wall and bounced off. Okay, so here you see these motivations for showing this strength. I liken it to the trans community. They don't know what it is to be a man, so they give you their concept of what a man is, their imagined facsimile of what a man is, so that they're acting like what they think a man is. And that's where the superwoman complex comes from. Okay. And let's go down to the bottom part here. It says, what are the perceived liabilities? Okay. Strain in interpersonal, e.g. romantic relationships. Absolutely. They have sacrificed romantic relationships for the sake of being strong. Have a relationship or be strong. They're going to pick strong. They're picking strong right now. Look at how they're dealing with the concept of men walking out on them and just not dealing with them anymore. They are belittling these men, saying that these men are frequenting prostitutes and all kinds of other things. All of this shaming language that is being thrown out to these men, as if these men can't just say, okay, I'm leaving. I'm not dealing with this. And then they say, well, you don't have to start a whole page or start a whole live and start talking about black women. That's rarely what these men do. These men go out and they describe their experiences. And who is another person out there to say that experience is not their experience? So essentially, they're telling these men to shut the fuck up and basically come on back to the plantation. Well, these men are saying, hell no, I'm not going back to the plantation. I'm running for the tree line. And who can blame them? So who do you hear talking about the preservation of the African American family? These guys in the manosphere are talking about the preservation of the African American family, not these women. These women are talking about the preservation of themselves, going and traveling, having all these excursions, having 15, 16 purses, and all kinds of just luxury. Everything is about luxury. It's not about sacrifice. It's not about, the next generation, teaching the next generation. None of that. They don't give a shit about any of that. All they care about is making that money and nobody being able to tell them nothing until they feel like they need a man, which is about 50, 40, 50, 60s. That's when you start seeing them coming out saying 60 is the new 30 and 40 is the new 20 and all that shit. Not to us. Men see you for what you are. Old. You're too old now. You're set in your ways. You're strong, independent, and ignorant. And it's supported by data. Okay? So the next one is stress-related health behaviors, postponement of self-care, emotional eating, poor sleep. So this is when these women start getting fat. They're not sleeping. They're not really taking care of themselves. They're putting weaves and shit on and, toe up edges and all that type of stuff. You're starting to see all these health issues, stress-related issues, because they're basically taking on more than what they should be taking on for the sake of being strong. Okay. The embodiment of stress, anxiety, depressive symptoms, adverse maternal health. Okay. So yeah, all these things you're starting to see that are not good for women in general. Okay. So there you have it. And I'm going to go on down. Let me see if I can get down to the end of this study. But this is a very interesting study. You guys definitely need to get into this. This will definitely cover quite a bit of your questions, I think, about the Superwoman schema. All right. Well, this summary is a little bit too long. I think I've carried you guys on down through the weeds a little bit too much, But the last thing that I am going to show you is, this right here. You have all these women and these black women who are out here saying that they're advocating for, the LGBT community and all of this, and they have this greater need. Okay, so here is Gallup's polls from 2012 to 2022 on how many Americans self-identified as LGBTQIAXYZ and it's only 7.2%. Okay, 7.2% of the entire population of the United States. Okay. And they'll try to get you to say, no, that's not everybody. Some people probably didn't identify. No, I don't. No. The data shows 7.2%. That's less than black folks, less than Mexicans, less than women, less than black women, less than anybody. But we're putting all this money and all this focus on 7.2% of the population. They're being on what they call inclusion. They have to be represented, in a greater fashion to basically change society, And now this supersedes civil rights, black agendas. The black community has been done a greater disservice than anyone, yet we can't even get our issues heard. We are being put at the back of the bus yet again, to the point where now young people don't even think that civil rights are even significant, even worth fighting for. And this is a shame. This is what happens when black folks don't stand together. Black folks don't stick together for the benefit of the whole. Okay? We are so fractured and supporting everybody else's agendas but our own. But I'm going to leave it there. And I hope you guys liked the show. I hope this was informative and beneficial. Again, if you like the content, please, hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
You are listening to Abuki Cabal, the analytical savage.
And, hit me in the comments. Let me know what you like or what you think about the show. I will, I'm going to try to burn hard, try to go all week, have something up for you guys. And I will go ahead and shoot this one up as soon as I get it loaded up. And you guys let me know what you think. And Again, like I said, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and I will see you guys on the next one.